Biscuits are worse than chocolates. They market themselves as a breakfast. This is not a breakfast, this is a dessert. Infant formulas, they use sugar in India for the babies and not in Europe. And that is completely wrong. I'm not necessarily against junk food. I'm against the junk food which is marketing itself as healthy. If you send me a legal notice, I will get you publicly noticed.
You have a Label Padhega India. Now, what is this? You're encouraging consumers to scrutinize food labels.
If you get millions and millions of people to start reading labels, companies will have no option but to market themselves honestly and give us better quality ingredients. So it's just a movement by the people to be more aware of what you're consuming, read the label, know what you're eating, know what you're putting inside your body and the bodies of your children.
Why does a bread have to have so many ingredients?
Exactly.
I can't understand.
And one more interesting thing, if you see here, it's written brown bread. Okay. So brown bread, and if you see here, is color 150A.
So the
So
brown
it is
is
brown color. It's white bread with brown color. Can I just tell one message?
Yeah.
To all the companies? Legal notice भेजना है तो इनको भेजना, मेरे को नहीं.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. Today, my guest is Revant Himatsingka, also known as Foodpharmer, as in PHARMER. He's on a mission. So let's get talking to find out what his mission in life is. For those not too familiar with Instagram or Twitter, Revant is a social media influencer and health champion who makes videos to raise awareness about the confusing and often misleading marketing gimmicks of the packaged food industry. He's faced a number of legal challenges because he's taken on the big guns of the food industry. But Revant is on a mission to make India nutritionally aware and not be gullible. Revant, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I have a number of questions to ask. Firstly, I want to begin with your T-shirt, Conscious Capitalism. What does it mean?
It just means what it exactly says, just being mindful while you're being capitalist. So some people, when I speak against food brands, they think I'm anti-business, which I'm not. I am just, I have studied business. I went to Wharton, I was at McKinsey. In fact, back in the day, I used to consult some of the food companies that are now trash.
Okay.
So I'm not against business at all. I know that business is very vital. I'm just asking people to just be slightly mindful of people as well. So like, you have profit and you have people. So I'm trying to get people in the intersection, in the Venn diagram intersection,
Okay.
which is what conscious capitalism is about, because we can't run away from capitalism. But if we just run after money without having any ethics, I feel like we're not headed in the right direction.
So are you what? Have you given your friends these T-shirts? Are you trying to start a company called Conscious Capitalism? What do you want to do? Or an NGO?
No, not an NGO per se. I've not started any company called Conscious Capitalism either.
Just a slogan right now.
Just a slogan right now, and I feel like this is a slogan which can be adopted by not only me but for everyone else as well. It's not my patented, it's for everyone.
Okay, so I'm going to get into the ethics of it soon. But for viewers and listeners, let's start right from the beginning, because everybody thinks, okay, he's going after FMCGs. फिर चर्चा शुरू हो जाती है. Everybody now, not everyone who looks at YouTube videos or at reels knows or understands the whole concept of what FMCGs are about. So can you just explain multinationals क्या होते हैं, food products का एक group होता है, what is it that these companies are all about? Explain from the basics.
बेसिक्स बस वही है जो आप डे टू डे बेसिस में जो भी खा रहे हो उसे हम FMCG प्रोडक्ट्स बोलते हैं.
What does FMCG stand for?
Fast moving consumer goods.
And fast moving consumer goods are
usually like food products, personal care products like shampoos, soaps, and anything essentially packaged that you buy, not necessarily just food. Food is obviously the major chunk of it. And yeah, these are the main items.
And these are the ones whose labels you have been finding objectionable. It's something that in the Western world people have been very conscious of, whereas in India, not really. And that's what you're raising awareness. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, so yeah, you're completely right. For 13 years, I was in the US. US packaged food is also really bad and people have it even more. So I wanted to fight against that as well. But instead of fighting against the US, I thought I would do it where I'm from, India. And a lot of these companies, you'll be surprised that they sell worse quality products than in India. So the same chips company will sell a better quality oil in the US, slightly worse in India. Same with like the famous baby infant formula companies where they will put sugar in India but not in the US and not in the UK.
Because the laws are stronger there.
Laws are
stricter?
stronger, people are more aware, price points also slightly different. So there are three reasons.
Huh.
So instead of fighting it in the US, I thought I'll come back to India and fight against these companies here.
So when you're telling me, say, potato chips,
Yeah.
you're saying there's like poor quality oil they are fried in if they are sold to India. But how does it make business sense for a company which is making bulk production of millions of packets of chips in a week? Some of them are for domestic consumption, some for export purposes. Now, are you telling me that they will use inferior oil even for Europe, or is it just Asia where awareness is not there? Or
Yeah, they
Africa?
often use inferior ingredients in India and maybe in other places.
If they're produced in India.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not what is coming from the US.
Not necessarily coming from the US, but they're, whatever is in India, like the most famous chips companies, like, they will use an inferior quality oil in India, but the same, it's a standardized product, right? Like the most famous products that you get, you also get that same product in the US. But in the US, they'll use a different recipe.
Yeah.
And with a slightly more premium ingredients. So that is like, I'm just giving an example. Now, I don't necessarily blame them to a large extent because they also have, Indians are more price conscious.
Okay.
So there is the other side of the story as well. So I understand that as well. So I understand the
Conscious.
capitalism
Yeah.
as well. But there are some times where it's just blatantly unnecessary. Like in the infant formulas, they use sugar in India for the babies and not in Europe. And that is completely wrong. That is like just because babies will get addicted to their product. And that is just completely wrong. And that can be avoided.
Yeah. And it's also even for, I've seen even cereals which are used, right? And they say raisin, but raisin ke saath kuch aur bhi mila hua hai. It's
हाँ,
quite
वो
obvious.
sweetened raisins रहते हैं.
Sweetened raisins. So when you're not saying sugar, but you're saying you're not saying sweetened raisins, you just say raisins.
Yeah.
But the raisins have been subjected to fructose or sucrose or something, right?
Yes, 100%.
Without informing.
Exactly. So
Okay.
once again, I want to repeat one thing over and over. I'm not necessarily against junk food. I'm against the junk food which is marketing itself as healthy. So I don't make too many videos. I do sometimes, but against the sodas, the soft drinks. I make more videos about those drinks which claim to make you taller. Those drinks those products which say it is filled with iron and those kind of products. Because that is, I feel like, more fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I come from a generation which, when we were children, there were drinks which were powdered drinks, powder which was to be added to milk or whatever, and it would make the children taller. That is how it was advertised.
It's still advertised
or it's
like that.
Syrup which you give a kid. There's a tonic. I'm not naming. Obviously, we are not naming any
naming
of the
आपका
products.
नहीं, naming मेरा काम है.
But basically, these were tonics which were given to make children stronger, children taller. Then there were supplements which were supposed to make you more muscular, which were added to children's diets.
And I'll just tell you one thing. You are using the word were, but it's actually happening currently as well. The same products are there today as well. And they are still selling to children, claiming to make you taller, claiming to get muscles and things like that. So it's not really changed as much. Yes, some people are getting aware. In tier 1, in the more economically richer people are getting more aware, but the mass of India still believes in it. So it's not a problem which is reduced. In fact, it's probably increased.
You have a Label Padhega India. Now, what is this? You're encouraging consumers to scrutinize food labels for unhealthy ingredients, right? Or excessive use of a certain ingredient beyond what it should be.
Yeah.
Right? Which could become harmful.
Yeah.
So explain what is Label Padhega India.
So Label Padhega India is a campaign which I came up with right after I had a major controversy. And the idea is it's very simple. if you get millions and millions of people to start reading labels, companies will have no option but to market themselves honestly and give us better quality ingredients. So it's just a movement by the people to be more aware of what you're consuming, read the label, know what you're eating, know what you're putting inside your body and the bodies of your children. That is Label Padhega India. And just imagine, if more than 50% of India started reading labels, the biggest companies will not be able to lie to you, because now they have no option but to they won't be able to say they make it taller, because people will read the label and they'll realize, oh, this has 50% sugar. So that is the entire thing. It kind of indirectly or directly forces the companies to be honest. And I'm very proud to say that there are several newspapers which wrote that after Jago Grahak Jago, this is the second biggest consumer awareness program in the history of India. And Jago Grahak Jago is a government initiative.
Yeah.
This is literally started by an individual or
just you.
I don't want to say it myself, but yeah, it's so that is, I think, amazing and so encouraging, because there are so many small businesses which have thanked me. Now they are using Label Padhega India as their slogan. Ki Label Padhega India, tabhi to sahi product chunega India. Because just imagine, on one side we have these MNCs with high budgets, high marketing spends. They get the best Bollywood actors and things like that to promote their products. On the other hand, these small businesses which are clean, they don't have a marketing budget which nearly comes as close to that.
Yeah.
So they need a movement like this so that people start buying their products.
They know what they are. If they want to eat unclean, that's fine.
That's fine.
But
I myself also sometimes have junk. It's like some people have a misconception that I don't touch anything. I myself also do that. But that's a choice.
Yeah.
The problem is when you kind of are cheating the customer. So that is Label Padhega India. And one more thing if I want to add is that very, very sadly, about only every single packaged food in India, the ingredient list and the nutrition label is in English. And less than 15% of India, if I'm not wrong, can read English. So you're basically saying that the labels are applicable only for 15% of India. But what about someone who's not strong in English? First of all, these font size of the labels are like font 5, font 6, very tiny.
Yeah.
So, and plus it's also in English. So why can't it be such that in Maharashtra you use it in English and Marathi? In cities, based on states, basically you also add the state language.
Yeah.
So there are many solutions behind it, and I feel like the government also can do certain things about it. And I have some solutions myself, like, you can have a scanner where you scan and you'll get in your own language. So there are like many solutions possible, because
Tech-based solutions possible.
Tech-based solutions.
Doesn't have to be expensive.
Doesn't have to be expensive, but there should be some laws which mandate stricter labeling, front of package labeling, having warning signs.
What is front of package labeling?
So
yeah, we have some products here.
Yeah.
I've obviously we
Can I
have
take it out?
Yeah. So we put tapes on it so that we don't want you to not buy a particular product. We just want to show you just random products without the brand names on it. Those have been redacted.
Okay.
So just want to.
Can I just tell one message?
Yeah.
To all the companies? Legal notice भेजना है तो इनको भेजना, मेरे को नहीं. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So basically, we've redacted the brands. I just want you to tell me now, what is the problem with, say, if you see any reel, any doctor, they'll say, maida mat khao, white bread mat khao. So nowadays, people know कि white bread नहीं खाना चाहिए. Right?
But problem है कि brown bread में भी क्या issue है वो लोग.
हाँ. So now you pick up एक करके, tell me what is the
I'm
issue
like
with.
carefully picking up brands because there are some brands here.
Which is obviously पता लगता है.
पता तो सबका लगता है, but कुछ brands के साथ बहुत major issue हो गए हैं. So I'm not even allowed to speak about certain brands. So I'm like not picking those up.
Well, the idea is also not to destroy them, but to make them correct the way that they are doing.
Exactly. I'm joking.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start whichever one you wanted. And tell me how we should be checking. And it's not as if we should reject the product, but we should make the makers of the product aware that they need to change what they're doing. So front and back में क्या था आप कह रहे थे?
Yeah, so
right.
This is the front pack.
Okay.
So this product is saying refreshing and tasty. Earlier, it used to say, like till even 6 months ago, it used to say vitamin C. So now I'm happy that they are changing and they're not making a health claim.
It doesn't have vitamin C?
It does have some vitamin C, but earlier they were making a very bold claim on vitamin C. Now they are just not marketing that aspect. They're just marketing it as tasty, which is good.
Okay.
They still have no artificial flavors here and a big picture of an orange. So when you see a big picture, I'm asking you, how much orange do you think this has when you see a big picture of an
So here I would say that 40% of the packet is covered with that orange. So technically I expect 40% of that, the powder inside that should have orange.
Yeah. And the reality is 0.9% of it is orange fruit powder. So less than 1% is orange. And this has 93% added sugar. And if 93% added sugar per 93% added sugar, and if 93% of added sugar is not sweet enough for you, don't worry. They also have an artificial sweetener on top. So the sweetener 955, which is sucralose, which is the same sweetener which they often put in like Coke Zero and like things like that. So many parents will ask their children, don't consume diet soda. But they'll give this to their child every day after the child comes back from school. So this is the problem. It has 93% sugar. It has an artificial sweetener on top. Plus, it has color 171, which is titanium dioxide, which is banned in many countries because if it consumed in very large quantities, it can be damaging to you. So in many Middle Eastern countries and European countries, it is banned. So this is again like one product. So when you say there are so many products, or most of these products here, they market themselves as everyday products. If you see their television commercials, they this particular product used to say something connected to water, that if your child does not drink enough water, why don't you give them this product?
Yes.
So they market themselves as everyday products, not as like a once in a while products. Like this particular product also,
A chocolate spread.
a chocolate spread, they market themselves as a breakfast. This is not a breakfast, this is a dessert. This is a dessert which you can have once in 2 weeks or like once in a while, not every day. But because of the marketing, people have this often every single day. The same thing with
टोस्ट के ऊपर डाल के सुबह खा लो और फिर स्कूल चले जाओ.
हमेशा एडवर्टाइजमेंट में बच्चे को दिखाएंगे, एंड सिर्फ बच्चे को नहीं दिखाएंगे, बच्चे को दिखाएंगे स्कूल यूनिफॉर्म पहनते हुए. क्यों? क्योंकि they want the parents to give it as a part of their school daily routine. They want it to make it a part. They don't show normal clothes, because if it's normal clothes, you can give it to your child anytime. But if you show a school uniform, the parents will make it a part of the school habit routine. So the same with the jams that are there in the market, people give it every day. School ke tiffin mein jam.
And jam is bad because?
It is 70-80% sugar. So
very little fruit extract as such. Better to give a slice of fruit than jam.
Exactly, of course. And they write fruit power and power of 8 fruits and things like that. So a lot of parents will think that this actually is like, it's a fruit that they're giving to their child, but they don't realize it's just sugar.
And also there's a lot of peer pressure. If one child has that chocolate spread on toast every morning because on TV he has seen it or she has seen it, and the ideal smiling mother applying chocolate spread and giving it on a toast, and then he or she who's a 5-year-old looks at their own mother and उसने एक apple का slice रख दिया. Obviously, bad mother giving me apple, good mother on TV gives chocolate spread. You know what I mean? I'm talking in terms of how a mother is perceived
100%.
by a child.
And if the child is also, not having that apple as much, then you'll be like, a child, just give all the other children are eating this chocolate spread, why don't I just do this? So, but of course, there are like those connotations with parenthood and motherhood and things like that attached to it. So they market a lot to mothers. 100%, like you will always see a mother in the advertisements.
But haven't schools started telling parents not to give fast food in the tiffin boxes and all?
Very less. I'm having some campaigns. I speak in schools very often, and we are beginning a campaign called Canteen Sudharega India. So even school canteens.
That's a good one. Canteen Sudharega India.
Yeah.
Please, can you start with our canteen? As I'm speaking, I'm sure वहाँ पे हो रहा है वो कद्दू वाला ketchup खाए जा रहे हैं. Ketchup. Tell me about ketchup.
Okay.
Here, there's fresh
ketchup.
So fresh tomato.
Fresh tomato ketchup. So you have a picture of a farmer. You see so many tomatoes here. 100% real tomatoes and things like that. They are fresh. tomato ketchup. So when you see the word fresh, you think it's fresh. And behind or out here, they have the line, this is only a brand name and or trademark and does not represent its true nature. So they've trademarked the word fresh. So there are companies, this has trademarked the word fresh. There are companies which can trademark fresh, healthy, ORF.
So nobody else can sell tomato paste with the word fresh tomato?
Most likely not, because they've trademarked
And
it.
the thing that you just read out is in such small lettering that you can barely read it.
And on the side, so of course they won't have it here, they'll have it here.
So you have to turn the package
Packet,
to read
yeah.
it.
And also one very, very interesting thing. Usually earlier they used to have an asterisk sign in the out here.
That you have to read ki asterisk ka hai.
Asterisk sign. But now FSSAI has a rule, you have to put some symbol. So now instead of an asterisk sign, they put a tomato sign. And then they have a tomato here. So when you see a tomato, you'll think it's a tomato sign.
Yeah.
You won't bother that there is
A
something.
hashtag or an asterisk.
Yeah.
Then you'll see what is the hashtag or asterisk.
Exactly. Now earlier they used to have an asterisk or a hashtag. Then they moved to a beta symbol to complicate it a bit more. Now they moved to a tomato symbol. This is literally...
Also, there's so many tomatoes. So I would again say that this should have about 40 to 50% of tomato. Look at the number of...
Yeah.
There are... kitne tomato hai? Isme, in the picture, there are at least 40 to 35 tomatoes.
Yeah, definitely.
So the presumption is that in every packet, about 20 tomatoes have gone in to make that paste.
Yeah.
Right?
So this has 28% tomato paste, which is... And then they have water, which is fine. And they have sugar, of course.
Why is there any need for sugar in this?
Uh,
Tomato paste में sugar की क्या ज़रूरत है?
वो कॉम्प्लेक्स क्वेश्चन है. टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, अगर आप शुगर नहीं डालोगे तो वो टेस्ट नहीं आएगा. सो आई एम नॉट अगेन क्रिटिसाइजिंग दैट एस्पेक्ट कि फिर it will just be literally like a salsa instead of a...
Yeah, but what is happening is that because tomatoes are so expensive, people when they make gravies, they use this. When you chop a tomato and put it in your gravy, you're using fresh ingredient.
Yeah.
You're not using chemicals in that. But as soon as you use packaged products, you're adding preservatives.
Exactly. If I may add one more thing, earlier till 1990s or early 1990s, I would say, people would have ketchup mainly only with French fries. Now, after successful advertisement of all these ketchup companies, people have started having ketchup with samosas, with rotis, with pakoras. It's become a default, even in the sabzis, with their noodles. So the point is, if you see any advertisement of any of these ketchup brands, they no longer show the ketchup being used only with French fries. They show it cleverly being used with rotis and every day. So as a result, parents in India now are using ketchup in everything. अब कुछ भी देखो, उसमें ketchup है.
And mayonnaise, that's another thing.
Another thing,
All
mayonnaise.
street food has now squeezing mayonnaise on everything, from
Yeah.
momos to, whatever you want to eat. Dosas, you're eating dhokla, उसमें भी बीच में काट के ketchup and mayonnaise.
Exactly. So that is the challenge, that what was supposed to be had once in a while is being had every day because of the clever marketing. And again, ketchup is something which was a once in a week thing or once in 10 days, once in a month thing, and now it's an everyday thing. And that is the challenge, that junk food should be had once in a while, not every day.
Not even as an additive.
Yeah.
I mean, junk food, most people think कि हम burger खा रहे हैं, वो junk food है.
हाँ.
But adding ketchup, adding mayo to everything is also eating junk. You're taking a consumption of junk food in every meal, literally.
Yeah.
If you're adding preservative-based packaged products. Am I right? Or
Exactly, you're 100% right. And I'll give you a funny example. In my home, my parents are now health conscious. So now instead of having fried samosa, they have baked samosa. And then with every bite of baked samosa, they have so much ketchup. I'm like, yaar, tu fried samosa hi kha lo aap log, please. But at least ketchup itna mat khao. But yeah, anyway, you're completely right. The problem is, we have made, people earlier, till 10 years ago, we used to think restaurant junk food hai, घर अच्छा खाना है. बट अब हम अपने घर को रेस्टोरेंट बना दिए हैं. हर मिनट 10 मिनट में डिलीवरी आ रही है कोई जंक फूड की अपने घर पे. हम लोग according to some statistics, we have in a month 8 or 9 meals in a month at restaurants. So if you have 3 meals a day, which is 90 meals a month, the remaining 81 meals you're having at home. So the problem, the reason why India is the diabetes capital of the world is not because of the 9 meals we are having at restaurants. It's the 81 meals in a month we are having at home, because at home we are having all this junk.
Point taken. Let me go into the noodles business. Of course, the nice mother is always dressed in a lovely yellow sari, and she quickly makes it. 2 minute में लेके आती हूँ, 4 minute में बन जाएगा. And fatafat noodles are presented as health food, and now there is atta noodles instead of maida noodles, and in the noodles that the mother makes, there are always vegetables in it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the packaged products, there are no veggies in it. Right? Now, you can just show me what is wrong with having atta noodles or whatever.
So, just from a marketing lens, once again, like I have studied marketing as well, so I always try to not only give a nutrition lens but also a marketing lens. So, companies often will use a green color when they are trying to denote health, because we signal that give a signaling effect that green is associated with nature, and so a regular noodle will often be yellow, but this atta noodle will be green, which is not necessarily wrong. I think that's the acceptable zone of marketing.
It's also people think कि vegetarian hai.
Haan. So that is also there. So with atta noodles particularly, there is not significantly, it's like, they still are using atta, they're not using maida. Often with many bread brands, they claim atta or they claim whole wheat, but they're not whole wheat.
So ye jaise this one has a number of ingredients all around it. Why does a bread have to have so many ingredients?
Exactly.
I can't understand.
And one more interesting thing, if you see here, it's written brown bread. Okay. So brown bread, and if you see here, is color 150A.
So the
So
brown
it is
is
brown color. It's white bread with brown color. So it becomes brown bread. And
it's not wheat bread.
Huh.
It's not whatever other grain bread, but it is white bread with color in it.
Exactly. And that is the challenge. जब आप व्हाइट ब्रेड खाते हो एटलीस्ट आप 2 स्लाइस में छोड़ देते हो कि चलो ये जंक है मैं उतना नहीं खाऊंगा. जब ब्राउन ब्रेड है चलो 3 स्लाइस खा लेते हैं because you think it's healthy. So that is the challenge. Color 150A is the same color as what they put in many soft drinks and many powders to make it brown, caramel color. So again, these are some of the challenges which is why I keep repeating the same line. Junk food pretending to be healthy is even more dangerous than junk food.
Let's go on to children's food, because obviously all of us want to keep our babies, our children safe. Tell me about baby cereal. What is wrong with the marketing and the ingredients? What should mothers look for?
So the challenge with baby cereals in India are that they just have added sugar. And there are like several studies that any baby, basically anyone below 2 years old, should not have any form of added sugar. And the sad part is that the same company in Europe, they don't put any added sugar. They have the same product in the Europe, no added sugar. In India, they have added sugar. So this is not exactly even a pricing issue. It is just to get babies addicted to sugar, because get addicted to their product. Because if a parent were to give their own milk, or they were to give some homemade, like porridge or whatever they give to a baby, the baby may not have it. They may not like it as much, because once they have this, they will just want this. So that is the challenge. And sugar in babies is linked to higher likelihood of diabetes when the baby grows up, higher likelihood of obesity, and also as children, like, for the first 10, 15 years of our lives, if we just have one type of food, then as an adult as well, we crave those type of foods. So like, if you crave sugar every time after lunch, it's not your fault. It's because as a child, for 15 years in a row, you were made to do that. Every day you grew up having a chocolate drink thinking it makes you taller. So that conditioning for 15 years makes you an adult also, which is craving sugar every meal.
Okay, so basically, when the child is being weaned off mother's milk, zaruri nahi hai that you should give a packaged product. Make the product at home as far as possible and introduce the child to homemade food. and keep packaged products away as much as possible. Is that it?
I don't want to say, because with babies it's like very tricky.
Okay.
So I would want like them to consult whatever doctors are saying.
But read the label.
But read
of
the
what?
label. Yeah.
And avoid anything for little children which has sugar in it.
Yeah. But the
Okay.
problem, to be very honest, is that parents often have no option, because almost all, like many of the companies have a monopoly in the baby
Yes.
segment, and all of the products have sugar. So even if hypothetically a mother is not able to breastfeed, which many mothers are not able to produce that milk,
Yeah.
so then they have no option but to
No
give
option.
this. So I don't
Yeah.
want to. There's also the sad part is that some mothers are feel shame that they're giving a product. They know it's bad for the baby, but they have no option.
It's like I've heard young mothers say that when they go to the baby food section, like you have juices, right? The squeezy juices, and the ones with no sugar added is just one or two products, and those are imported products and very expensive. The imported products, which are slightly cheaper, are like two rows of various kinds of squeezy juices and things. So for example, you're going for a picnic, everybody has something to drink, so you take a squeezy for the kid where the kid squeezes it. Or would जिसमें sugar नहीं है is just one or two products in the market, rest are all with added sugars in it. So obviously choosing 120 per squeezy as compared to 40 or 30 rupees, what will most mothers pick up?
Yeah.
So they'll pick up that. And I don't understand that when you have a 1.2 billion or 1.4 billion population, you have people with purchasing power. Why are companies not coming out with products which don't have so many preservatives, and why don't they come clean on telling us?
So that is the reason, is because most of these products are catering to the entire 140 crore people. So the price points in India, people are very price sensitive. So currently they have only products catering to everyone. What I feel what will happen in the next 5 years and 10 years is that many of these companies will have two variations of their product. The one, the regular biscuits. The second, the more premium biscuits. One, the regular whatever. Every product will have a premium side of them. And if you have the purchasing power, then you will pick the premium one. If you don't, you will pick the regular one.
So you also became famous because of that reel about biscuits that you did about almonds in biscuits or not. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so some of the most famous biscuit brands in India, which claim to have almond and
Kaju.
Almond cashew cookies, and if you look at their front package filled with almonds and cashews, they again have 1.5% almonds, and it's mostly maida. So, and a lot of people were shocked to know that every day they're consuming that. And I often say this one thing, I've said it many times before as well, that biscuits are worse than chocolates. Like when you're having chocolates, you're having it mindfully. You usually have 3-4 chocolates in a week. But with biscuits, you're having 4 biscuits a day. So in a week, you're having 28 biscuits. So 28 biscuits versus 4 chocolates. So which is the enemy?
Oh my God.
Exactly. So
Yes.
like-
Now that you say it, yes, it's striking me.
And another difference I'll tell you is you have chocolates usually in the evening. You don't have it the first thing you get up. But what do we do with biscuits? First thing we're getting up, chai and biscuit.
Yeah.
So the blood sugar spike, your stomach is empty. Blood sugar spike, rapid spike, because the first thing you're putting is maida and sugar. Whereas with chocolates, at least you're having it maybe with dinner, so your stomach is already full. So you're having it after dinner. So the blood sugar spike is more gradual. So that's why I say, like, these chocolate powders and these chocolate biscuits are worse. And in fact, there are many biscuits which have even more sugar than chocolates. So forget that you have it more often. Of course, but they even have more sugar. Like in the US, we call biscuits cookies. Cookies in our head for some reason sounds unhealthy. But biscuits doesn't sound as unhealthy because of the marketing associated with it. So I feel like that's one of the hangovers of the British, the habit of biscuits. And now it's like so. It's become an Indian habit pretty much having
And I think people see it as a tradition that you're dunking your biscuit in chai and drinking, and it's a part of tradition कि हम लोग ऐसी चाय पीते हैं.
हाँ, and बहुत मुश्किल है. And to be completely honest, बाकी सब products में मैं I have found some alternatives. So when parents ask me what is the alternative to an XYZ product, I'm able to give an alternative.
But like if some guest comes और चाय कॉफी दे रहे हैं तो automatically लोग बिस्किट लाते हैं ना.
हाँ.
अगर नहीं लाओगे तो फिर you tell me ये क्या है, ये चाय कॉफी दे दे बिना बिस्किट.
हाँ, exactly. तो वही प्रॉब्लम है. एंड वो कोई ऑनेस्टली बहुत बिस्किट्स में क्लीन ऑल्टरनेटिव्स है ही नहीं.
है ही नहीं. Okay.
बाकी सब में फिर भी आपको कुछ एक क्लीनर वर्जन ऑफ अ प्रोडक्ट मिल जाएगा बाकी सब कैटेगरीज में. लाइक नूडल्स में आजकल कुछ कुछ क्लीनर नूडल्स आ गए हैं मार्केट में, ये वो. बिस्किट्स तो सभी.
And you're paying extra GST if they have almonds and kaju as compared to a biscuit which has less almonds and kaju. And actually what you're saying is that they don't have almond and kaju.
Yeah.
So that, okay, double thagoing. All right. Now, how many lawsuits do you have against you? How many are you fighting?
So I'm currently fighting one, but I've so far had 6 or 7.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you think about that when you were studying at Wharton and when you were working, that you're going to be taking on those MNCs, which you probably advised at one point of time?
No, at that time I did not think of that. It just happens, and then you don't fully know what you're getting yourself into. Like, when I was in the US and I was working at McKinsey, I did know that I was going to leave that and come to India and try to make India health literate and raise awareness. But I did not know what it's going to lead to and what will happen.
But you were seeing it happening in America, awareness and all.
I saw it happening. But I did not see the legal aspect as much. Like, that I think when in the US, they also do a lot of legal. I mean, it's even more than India in some ways. But I did not see the people being legally threatened as much. Out here, my first video itself, I got a lawsuit. The first ever video I made after coming back from the US. So I did not anticipate what the process is.
That was about the milk additive.
Yeah, exactly. That was literally my first video. And then the second video I made, I also got a lawsuit. The third video also.
And these were companies which have like been around for over 100 years.
Yeah. And both MNCs and Indian companies. I want to stress this because some people think it's only MNCs. It's even the Indian companies. Which are also doing this. There's a bias that, MNCs are bad, Indian product companies are good. No, it's both of them.
They go after you and say that you're ruining their reputation. What are they saying? Are they admitting that what they're doing is...
No, they will always twist your words. So, for example, one company I had said this is 50% sugar. They said it's not 50%, it's 49.8%. And like things like that. Like, it's as stupid as that. And... there are so many times where I had, for example, written the dark reality behind XYZ product in my thumbnail. And they were like, the thumbnail seems like, there is some secret we are hiding. And like, so much. There's a paragraph on every line I have written. So every time I've got a legal notice, minimum 13, 14 pages. Once I've also got a 250 page one that is supposed to respond to in 24 hours. So how can you respond to a 250 page document in 24 hours? I can't even read the entire 250 pages in 24 hours. And then they give you lawsuits in different cities. So I have one ongoing one in Chennai. I'm not from Chennai. So the hassle now, I have to go to Chennai. Every month there's a hearing. And earlier I used to run away from lawsuits. Like, I should feel like a bit intimidated that, what should I do? Should I just run away and things like that? Now I've realized if you truly want to create a health revolution in India, you cannot run away from lawsuits. You have to fight them. And so I have one line for every brand now. If you send me a legal notice, I will get you publicly noticed. You cannot create a health revolution without making a few enemies. And I'm not going to stop. So you can keep fighting and I'm going to fight back. And I'm not going to blur logos. So lawyers told me, why don't you blur logos? I've never tilted blurred logo. They told me to use a rhyming word. So don't use the actual name of the company, use some rhyming word which people will understand what you're saying. I don't do that. I take the names openly. And because I'm like, if I actually want to create something big, if I actually want to create change in the lives of people. I'm going to be fully honest because freedom of speech is a part of our Indian constitution, and there's no reason why I should not speak openly.
But these are very powerful people you're taking on. Doesn't scare you?
It does scare me, to be very honest, but there's a pros and cons. They can fight me, but if the benefit if I'm creating is to 1 million people, like if you do a weighted average, I think I'm benefiting more people, even if they are able to harm me in some ways. And they have been able to, in some ways, harm me in the sense that financially, for example, I was making pretty good money when I was in the US. And now I'm here and I'm like figuring out ways to monetize and things like that. And it's pretty challenging because neither can I advertise some of these products, like the cleaner ones I'm saying. And it's just a very, very awkward position I'm in. Like, if I were to even advertise a clean product, it will sound like, oh, this guy is sold or like, a thing like that. And I get positioned often online as an influencer, whereas I just think of myself as a guy who's raising awareness. If I was doing the same exact thing on the street, people would have called me an activist. Like if I was speaking out against...
You're not an activist?
I don't know. I don't know what the change maker... activist also has some own connotations with its own thing. So I don't know what the right word is. Every time I've gone to a news channel, the word they've used is different. Sometimes they've called me a food blogger. Sometimes they've called me a content creator, influencer, de-influencer, activist, change maker, food crusader. So many things, health educator. So I don't know what I am, to be very honest. It's going to just be a matter of time where we identify. I don't even know if you need a label. Like I'm reading people's labels. I don't know if I should label myself as one of these.
I'm going to take a name, but obviously they are not involved. But suppose somebody turns around and says to you, oh, you're going after Kisan because Heinz is paying you to go after Kisan. Or you're going after Nestle because somebody else is saying, a competitor to Nestle is doing it. Or you're going after Britannia because Parle is paying you for it. ऐसे भी तो हो सकता है ना कि competitors are giving you money.
हाँ, तो इसीलिए मैंने बहुत केयरफुली सबके अगेंस्ट बोला है. और पहले क्या था कि when I, for example, made a video about one particular health drink company, like a chocolate drink company, then I have till date, people used to ask me for alternatives. Till date, I never mentioned the other competitors, and then I've made several videos against the other people as well. So I have made videos against Kisan ketchups. I have also made videos about other ketchups. So that's the thing. So it's very... all of them are almost equally bad. And I have made so many videos that eventually how much can I also...
So in your videos, you don't say that this brand is bad and this brand is good. You're saying that basically read the label and pick your brand whichever you want to according to the ingredients?
According to the ingredients and the nutrition label.
Nutrition label. Okay, I'm going to go to that part where you talked about how these companies, many of them, they do use substandard products in India. So why is India used as a dumping ground? Is it only India or is it all third world? Africa maybe hota hai and some countries in Asia. Why are they doing it here? Is it because we lack awareness or we don't have a voice? We won't come cracking down on, in the sense, India won't come cracking down on those companies. Is that it?
I think there are three main reasons. One is regulation. The regulations in India are not as strict as they are in Europe. So I feel like Europe is the best in terms of regulation. And Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and some of these countries. India and US are pretty weak. So that is one, regulation. Second is lack of consumer awareness. So even if the company is giving a clean product, people are not even aware of it. So people are not willing to pay a premium for it. So as a result, the company is thinking, why don't I just give if the person will not even pay for it because they're not aware. If the consumer was aware, they would be angry. They would demand better stuff, but they're not aware, which I'm trying to do. And third is price and the cost. So India, of course, a more price sensitive country. So sometimes companies can also not afford to give us the best quality ingredients, which is why many chocolates, you take the same chocolate in India and you take the same chocolate in Australia.
Huh.
The Indian chocolate will have lesser milk, will have lesser cocoa and more sugar. The same brand.
Huh.
So that is the challenge, and that's why you will taste You go abroad, the taste of that chocolate is better.
Yeah.
Same with clothing companies. You'll see so many clothing companies, the quality of the handbag that people buy in India, the same exact company in the US or UK, you buy that handbag, it lasts longer. Because it's just India mein they sometimes treat it कि people को नहीं पता, they won't even understand कि क्या होगा ये वो.
Hostels, maybe there's this issue of buying rice from a person who will give the tender, who will quote the lowest in a tender. So when the lowest tender का आता है ना, उसमें क्या होता है that you'll get bad quality rice, you'll get patthar, and or you'll get wheat in which they will add soda to it. So the student will eat one roti and feel full. These are the kind of malpractices that happen in many hostels too. It doesn't come to light because it's very difficult to, you can easily pilfer a sack of atta with something in it, right? And it's all based on tendering. And who's reading the product in the label in the atta? This is the problem.
Yeah, that's such a it's so true, and there's no easy solution besides stricter regulations. And one of the most common questions I get is from college students that I want to be healthy. I watch your videos every day. I love it, but my college hostel has such bad food. It's like so unhealthy. What do I do? Like I can't cook my own food here. So it's everywhere in India, and adulteration and is so bad. And I'll also tell you one more thing. We were talking about US companies or UK companies selling inferior products to India, but Indian companies sell inferior products to India as well. The biggest tea companies, if you actually do a lab test report, what they sell in India and versus the same company exporting it, like they have Darjeeling tea and things like that.
Yeah.
So when you export it to Europe, they use a very different batch. Because in Europe, they're going to test many more pesticides, which are not even tested in India. So they have a separate garden for Europe and a separate garden for India. India, they're using banned pesticides. For Europe, they're not using banned pesticides. And this is the same tea which everyone is drinking. And so it's not just US sending us the dumping ground, as we say. It's India also treating itself as a dumping ground. It's just that these companies are too big. And if someone were to actually fight against it, it would just be a major bloodbath. So it's just...
Those companies are giving it to their own employees also, that means. Their employees are drinking those teas too.
Yeah. But I'm sure that for their own families, they probably are using the one that they export.
So there's one video which my team says that you mentioned that Singapore products are labelled as A, B, C and D.
Yeah.
With D indicating the product contains over 10% sugar. Now that's a way to go about it. Should India adopt the same Singaporean method?
Something similar would be great. So if Singapore has A, B, C, D, and if it's more than 10% sugar, it will be categorized as D. And if it's D, the company is not allowed to advertise their product. So it's so strict. So only if you're in A, B, C, or I'm not even sure about C, are you allowed to advertise your product. So that is an amazing regulation that is there in Singapore. And there are some other countries in Mexico which have warning labels. So just like cigarettes, that this product may cause cancer, and then you have a disturbing image. So they have something like a warning label, excess sugar, right on top with big font. So should our biscuits also have warning labels? Should our chocolates also have warning labels? So that's an interesting thing which some people argue. I feel we also need something like that. And there are some pros and cons. So the Singapore system, I've studied that a lot. They look at sugar and fat and salt in a lot of detail, but they do not look at other things like protein and fiber and things like that. So there are companies in India as well now. There's a company called Truthin which is trying to develop something which also factors in protein and fiber and other ingredients and things like that.
On the labeling of food items, we were talking about how they are on the ulta side and not on the sida side. Sometimes they're so minuscule. You also said that it should be in a regional language or in Hindi, not just in English, because then we are only talking about a minuscule population who can read it. What more can the FSSAI, which is the food department, what can they do more?
First of all, I feel like the food department needs more budgets. I feel like there a lot more money needs to be given to them. They're handling a very, very big problem without as much resources as they should have.
Okay.
So they need more food inspectors, more health inspectors, more people in their team. So that's one thing. Once they have that team, there are 4-5 things which we like. One, front of pack labeling. I do not need to be able to turn around the back. I want to see what is the health information in the front. So, and it should be in decent font size, not font 6 and font 2 and things like that. And they should also have some sort of a warning label, like how we have in cigarettes. Just the way tobacco causes cancer, a lot of these products also, if you have it repeatedly, do cause some of these health issues.
Because it's so minuscule, I've had at times to take a screenshot and then expand it. You understand? Because I can't read it. Even medicines and things like that, वो इतना छोटा 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 लिखा होता है.
That is my next campaign, medicine label Samjhega India. Anyway, we'll come to that. So warning labels that this product is high in sugar, this product is high in salt.
But if the product is advertised on television, where is the warning in that? At least in the product itself, yes. But when they put the ad on television, there is no warning. Like medicines have, or stock market may.
But wait, that's what I'm saying, that they can start this. Ki even if you're showing an ad, uske ad ke end mein you have to say this product has high sugar. Use responsibly. Something like that. Also, I would say no advertisement of junk food in like kids channels like Cartoon Network or like these kind of channels. These are like small things which can be helpful.
Like they have, you can't sell cigarette products, tobacco products near schools, 1 kilometer radius and all that. Which is, you go to any pan ki dukan which is nearby, he is selling.
वो तो होता ही है.
Under the table, openly, point of purchase पे दिखता नहीं है in some cases, but it is being sold. So similarly, you can probably not do selling, sugary stuff.
I would also say surrogate advertisement needs to be really, really looked into. Like pan masala has been sold openly on TV, indirectly. Everyone knows that the elaichi is not elaichi. Everyone knows that the music CD is not a music CD, they're advertising alcohol. So there should be some sort of a rule that, if your percentage of revenue is not coming from the CD, then you cannot promote it.
Yeah.
If 99.9% of your revenue is coming from the alcohol, then how can you promote the CD?
Yeah. They're selling shampoos but actually selling tobacco.
Exactly. And that's with the water bottles, like, soda and like things like that. So those things also I feel like openly should be stopped. So these are like few things which they can do. FSSAI, I feel like they are currently a food safety body, not a health body. So they are focusing on, as long as product kharab nahi hai, it's fine. I feel like we need to focus more on the health aspect as well.
Okay.
So very much like, for example, we discussed calories in restaurants.
Yeah.
Cleaning up canteens. There's so much to do.
Schools and colleges, canteens, that should be priority, absolutely.
100%. Like whatever your childhood habits are, that's what lasts a lifetime.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of these things they can do. In addition to the first thing, which I said was the language.
Yeah.
That having products in various
languages. Okay.
So these are some things which FSSAI can do.
Like we were talking about hostel food. It's also the case in restaurants. Like you said that, suppose we go to a restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, and we say, and they ask you that, are you allergic to anything? And if you say, I don't want anything with MSG, and they say, we don't add MSG. Now, one restaurateur once told me that this is a fake thing that they say. They are not adding MSG, as in putting a spoonful of MSG, but the sauces they use come in bulk containers. Because itna banta hai, soy sauce ho jaye, ye sauce, wo sauce. Those bulk containers have MSG in it. So technically they're not lying that they are adding MSG, but the sauces they use have MSG in it. So this is just one thing that I'm telling you that what restaurants could do, which a consumer doesn't know when one is eating.
Yeah, so that again, restaurants is a whole different ball game, and like there is absolutely almost no testing. So one of my
So
friends,
what you're doing saying Singapore ka ABCD it matters zero. अगर आप Singapore में you go to a restaurant, you don't know whether they're using A, B, C or D,
huh,
right?
yeah.
So you were saying about your friend, yes.
Yeah, so my friend started also like some small, like, very small, like within their neighborhood, they're delivering food and they have a license from the government because you need some official thing. But like that also, like they were like, I can technically put whatever I want in my food and there'll be no checks. Like, it's just, there is such limited checks. Like, and like, you just have to be like the companies, the asterisk sign and the tomato sign, like they're just getting away with being legally correct. And there's a very big difference between being legally correct and being ethically correct. So it just कि वो एक limit में बोल दो ताकि वो you can pass off.
So these food inspectors are actually just saying that if your premises are clean and you're not using palm oil when you're saying you're using ghee. Basically the big cheating.
Yeah.
That's what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Right? Rest of the stuff they're not. And now I've heard that one state wants to say that restaurants may CCTV karna chahiye because so that you can catch any kind of adulteration which could be happening. Of course, there's no labeling on restaurant food, so you
Yeah.
really don't know. There are some menus though which say these many calories. What
So
about that?
That definitely should be in a place, should come in place. I think there was some regulation behind that, but it's not enforced as much. I think it's only the main big chains which have enforced it, but not the individual restaurants as per se. But yeah, that will definitely help some people make slightly better choices, like calories, and maybe if you can ideally add protein and all, but that may be difficult.
So when a food product says that this is a protein drink, what should we as consumers do? Go behind it and see कि कितना protein
हाँ,
है,
कितना
कितना
protein
sugar.
है, because क्या है, मैं देखा हूँ, there was a chips company which said high protein, and then I checked, turned to the back, it was 2 grams protein. 2 grams is like as much you'll get in anything pretty much. So, and there are some companies very intelligently, they'll write as much protein as a roti. रोटी में भी barely कोई protein होता है. But they'll write things like that to confuse a mother कि as much protein as this roti, as much fiber as this, as much calcium as milk, this, that, to try to make the product sound very good. But yeah, you should always check the back and see कि कितना है. And I feel like it's a very systematic problem because we don't study health in school. So even if the person checks it, people don't know what 5 grams of protein means and what 10 grams of protein means. So we need to actually study health in schools. So I've said this hundreds of times and I'm going to say it again. Just the way we study history, geography, integration, differentiation, we need to study health in schools, nutrition in schools. And health is the most important, I would say, subject for which needs to be introduced in school. So if you're from ICSE, CBSE, if you're watching this, please try to get health in school curriculums, because Indians, we take pride in our education, but while we are educated, we are not health literate. I have gone to IITs, I have gone to IIMs, and I have spoken, and you ask the most basic questions on health to an IIT or an IIM student, they often don't know the answer.
No, they don't.
So that is the challenge.
It's true. Even those who are studying for IITs have seen that the parents say कि वो IIT के लिए पढ़ रहा है, हम उसको टोक नहीं रहे हैं, and they become extremely obese and unhealthy to a certain extent that I know of a family where the child developed, because of extreme obesity, developed major health issues because the parents would not stop the child क्योंकि वो IIT के लिए पढ़ रहा है. तो उसको जो खाना है खाओ, जो पीना है पियो. So the kid was drinking gallons of Coke and eating fast food because at least खाने के मामले में नहीं टोकेंगे. The kid got into IIT but had to lose, I think, 35 or 40 kilos after that in the first year because he developed major health issues.
Wow.
Yeah. So the point is, like, look at the balance. He could have taken a 1-year gap year probably and studied, but the parents were like, no, not realizing what the priorities and how dangerous each day was to that child.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it became that serious.
And I'll tell you one or two more things. Our entire, not only India, but the rest of the world as well, our main focus, unfortunately, is on curative healthcare, not preventative healthcare. So if we were, like, if there are 1,000 crores in our budget we're allocating, I don't know the actual numbers, we're allocating most of it, I'm assuming, on medicines and hospitals and things like that, not on
Awareness.
not on like building health schools or like things like that. If we taught 140 crore Indians to become health literate, we would, I am sure, in the next 10 years, we would no longer be the diabetes capital of the world.
So it should come in as what? It should come in as extracurricular activities. See, I studied it
No,
because
as
one
a
of the
main
subject
activity as
was
well, no?
home science. So because one of the subjects was home science, of course, I was like, ये तो home science है, इसके one of our subjects है, ये तो marks के लिए ले रही है, not realizing that I was interested to know about it. But I was just one among probably 400 students in my batch. We were just about 10 of us who had home science as one of the subjects because we were interested in taking it up.
There
right?
was, in my school, we didn't have home science. And
so
there was also a stigma around home science ki, especially as a male, कि ये सब home science लड़कियों का subject है.
हाँ.
और easy है और वो मतलब उसमें career opportunity नहीं है ये वो.
But I think I learned more life skills
I'm sure.
in home science than I did in biology.
I'm
I
sure.
studied biology too, but in home science I learned about how to prevent janleva diseases, what it meant, what was deficiency, and how to overcome that. Those are things which were taught in home science, but we were 15 out of whatever 1,500 students or whatever who were studying. But what I'm saying is that it's not taught in schools even as a co-curricular activity anymore.
Yeah, so neither is it taught as a co-curricular nor is it taught as a main subject, and which is a big problem. I strongly believe India needs to inculcate health as a school curriculum. I am now started teaching people I've launched a digital health school. Since we don't teach health in schools, I've launched a digital health school. Is pay what you want, and whatever you pay, we donate a large amount to feeding children. So the idea is that you learn about food and you feed food at the same time. So I have a campaign called Har Ghar CHO. CHO as in Chief Health Officer. So just the way we have a Chief Technology Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, Chief Finance Officer, I believe, and companies usually have these, I believe that in homes, we need a Chief Health Officer. If even one person in every household is health literate, that person can take care of their household. So we need one person in every household to get trained. So I am essentially through that online thing, we are training people what are the things you need to be aware of, what are emulsifiers, what are food colors, which food colors are actually bad for you, which colors are not good for, which are good for you and things like that. How to eat healthy, how to get enough protein in your diet and things like that.
So the chief health officer doesn't necessarily have to be the woman of the house, doesn't have to be the mother.
No, that will be a sad thing if it's only one person's responsibility. In fact, like I would encourage more and more men to also do that. Of course, in India, there is a higher likelihood of women, unfortunately, to be the
food in charge.
So there is a higher likelihood of women to become that CHO role. So many people commented in my videos as well that I am a mother and I am the CHO of the house already, unofficially the CHO. I am just giving a terminology to it. But it can be technically anyone who has a knack for it.
So what are the common tactics that these companies use to influence young minds?
So there are many tactics. One, toys. So many products like, if you remember back in the day, they were giving Tazos with chips. Two, they'll often sponsor certain events like some things in cartoon channels and things like that. For example, I won't name it, but in 90s and 2000s, the most popular quiz contest was sponsored by one of the companies which I'm in a very friendly relationships with. So a quiz contest. Why is the company sponsoring a quiz contest? Because we associate with intellect.
Yeah.
So they are trying to indirectly say that their product is associated with intellect. So toys, sponsoring strategic events.
Sports events.
Even many betting apps are sponsoring sports, like the biggest cricket, of course.
And you'll have cricketers drinking sodas, but in real life, when you ask them what their drink is, they'll say nimbu pani or something like that.
There are like third, of course, you've already said it, celebrities. All of these cricketers, Bollywood actors, not Bollywood actors, they have 6-pack, 8-pack. They'll go to they'll go to podcasts literally and say that, oh, sugar is horrible. And they'll go to comedy shows and they'll say sugar is horrible. And then they'll promote 12 things with sugar. And they're very protective of their own children. They will never give that to their own children. And then they want your children to have it though. So third is celebrities. Fourth is all these strategies which I said, like, they'll show a school uniform in their advertisements. They'll show a young kid. And they'll show sort of like a responsible mother is such that one who gives these products to their children. And they'll show a smiling face of a mother and a smiling face of a child and things like that. They use various health things. So what is a child who's like about 8 to 10 years old or 12 years old, what are they most insecure about? Often it's height. If you ask a 10, 12-year-old in their school, they compare themselves, their self-confidence comes with height. The taller children often become like the prefects or the monitors in schools. And so that's why, because the children are insecure about the height, all these companies will go after taller. Like, ये product आपको बच्चा को लंबा बना देगा. So they use these various strategies. And I'll tell you one very interesting thing. Just imagine, you have an 8-year-old child here, and on the other side, you have 20 IIT, IIM, or like very DU, SRCC students who have also 100 crores as a budget. So how will an 8-year-old child beat these 20 IIT, IIM, SRCC guys? Because they are the marketing people, right? They are the ones who are selling it to them. So invariably, the 8-year-old child will get manipulated because all of these guys come together, they'll come up with a beautiful campaign which will lure that 8-year-old child. And I myself am a victim. My favorite cricketer used to promote jam. So I used to have jam. And he was humble and this and that. So whatever, like, and I'm not going to go into personally.
Yeah.
But that is the challenge.
Because you want to associate yourself that मैं बड़ा होके ऐसे personality बनूंगा. But even parents do that, no? Parents also then get influenced by that if this celebrity is endorsing this product, वो product safe ही होगा.
That is also a big thing. Parents also get influenced. And I'm telling you, I speak at a lot of NGOs and underprivileged schools. The poorer I've seen a child is, the higher likelihood of them believing in celebrities and believing in marketing. I think the tier 1 rich people kind of know कि ये क्या strategies हो रहा है. But unfortunately, I'll tell you, once I was at an event, I was talking to a child and he told me, मैं अब वो black color वाले soft drinks नहीं पीता हूँ क्योंकि मैं healthy बनने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. अब मैं सिर्फ वो transparent वाले soft drinks और वो नींबू पानी वाले soft drinks पीता हूँ. Because they thought black color है तो खराब है, transparent है तो वो ठीक है, वो नींबू पानी हो गया तब. And he told me, वो ड्रिंक जो पीता है वो क्लियर है एंड क्लियर है तो कुछ खराब नहीं है. एंड देन आई रियलाइज्ड that particular company, that tagline for 10 years plus was clear है. This drink तो clear है. I'm not taking the name right now, but that is the level of brain. I used to always wonder, ये clear है tagline क्यों है? They use the clear है tagline for these people. And the same with another child telling me that one particular noodles brand used to say fiber of 3 rotis.
Clear मतलब clean सोच रहे हैं.
Clear, I think they're thinking clean and also transparent.
No, nothing added to it.
Nothing added to it?
कुछ add किया तो दिख जाएगा.
हाँ.
Okay, now you're saying the other one.
Another product which said fiber of 3 rotis. Yeah, like the noodles brand. And so one child told me कि now in their dinner they're having noodles instead of roti because उसमें भी fiber है. तो रोटी क्यों दो? Fiber तो आपको noodle से मिल जाएगा. And the parents, like, especially the most underprivileged parents, they don't the both parents are working. They come back with like barely any time. They're doing two jobs. So for that child, they are like 5 minutes. I'll just quickly make something. तो रोटी बनाने में आधा घंटा लगेगा, ये नूडल्स में मेरे को 5 मिनट लगेगा.
और फाइबर तो है ही.
और फाइबर है. And same thing, if you look at cheese slices in India, they'll have the photo of the cheese slice and then equal to 3 glasses or 1 glass of milk. Or they'll have something like, the most popular chocolate cereal brand in India. They'll show a glass of milk next to it. That it's the doodh or roti ki shakti and things like that. So they always try to associate themselves with milk and roti to play that that game with the parents.
So cheese actually will have so many more ingredients as compared to milk, which is... But milk, if you remember, even in America, when you buy milk, there are some 14 ingredients. And I used to always wonder कि अगर दूध है, तो it should be straight from cow to your jar. Why does it have so many ingredients?
So I'll tell you one interesting line, which I often teach in my course and all as well. Longer the ingredient list, longer the medication list. So try to buy products with lesser ingredients. So for example, a peanut butter, the best peanut butters are those which have only one ingredient, peanuts. That's it. Now most of the peanut butters in the market,
no emulsifiers.
Emulsifier, vegetable fat, salt, sugar. Some people won't use sugar, they'll use jaggery, but like
वो भी sugar ही है. That's another thing which I want to tell people is like jaggery. I mean, you'll have parents and grandparents telling you that ये तो गुड़ है, ये चीनी थोड़ी ना है, शक्कर थोड़ी ना है. गुड़ तो जितना मर्जी. So, but that's also sugar.
So it is like marginally better than, I would say, white sugar, but it is also essentially sugar.
Yeah. So this whole thing about having a slice of cheese as compared to a glass of milk for calcium is not really the truth.
You may get the calcium, I cannot say with full guarantee, but you may also get a lot of other things which the milk does not have. A lot of other additives and preservatives which the milk does not have. So it may have that one particular thing they're claiming as much calcium as milk. That may be true, but a lot of other things which the cheese is putting. Like there's a lot of colors which they are putting in which the milk won't have.
Ice cream?
Ice cream, of course, is very openly, like, people know that, there's ice cream and then there is frozen dessert. This, I think, most of the India by now.
No, they don't. Even I thought they do.
Yeah.
So I just randomly asked people. They don't know about it.
Yeah. So that is pretty common that it's not everyone knows, but a decent, I think more and more people are getting aware. Is that
you're just talking about in the major
social media
metros who are on Instagram or on Twitter.
You're right. I am talking to... Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong about this.
I could just say 200,000 Indians know it. That's about it. Or maybe 50,000 Indians know about it. Or maybe 100,000 Indians. That's about it. Look at the population.
Yeah, you're right.
And everybody has ice cream. Or frozen dessert.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us about that.
So there are two types of essentially like ice cream and frozen dessert. Ice cream usually has majority milk. Frozen dessert is often using like palm oil and like it's made with oil. And so the most popular ice cream brands in India are actually not ice cream brands. They are frozen dessert brands, like one of the most popular ones. And
are they advertising themselves as frozen dessert?
I don't think they advertise themselves as frozen dessert. Neither do they advertise themselves as ice creams, but most people will perceive it to be an ice cream. Because when you see it in a stick like that and
cone mein dal ke de diya,
so it'll
cup mein de diya.
So you ask 100 people, probably 99% of people will say this is an ice cream. And there has been a lot of litigation behind the 2-3 major ice cream brands. One which is actually an ice cream brand, one is a frozen dessert. They've had a lot of lawsuits amongst themselves.
So there's some course correction which might happen because they're going for each other.
Yeah. They are fighting amongst themselves, which is good. That mere se mat lado, khud hi lad lo.
Okay, so ye ladne ki baat uth gayi, so let me ask you this, that because of what you do, have you seen any change happening?
Yeah, there's been a lot of change.
Let's talk about first the companies and then about people.
Yeah. So out here, I think I can openly, potentially, like, Bonvita reduces sugar by 15%. Maggi ketchup reduces sugar by 22%. Lay's has decided to switch out palm oil, phase out palm oil in the next few years. And many more companies are making small changes. Some of it maybe because of me, some of it is just because the market itself is now getting more aware. Like very popular again, orange powder brand is not writing vitamin C, they're writing refreshing and tasty. The most popular iced tea brand of India, earlier they used to say rich in vitamin C in their package. Now they don't say rich in vitamin C, they write source of vitamin C. So they are downplaying their marketing a bit. So all of these brands, and if one drink like a Bonvita is being consumed by crores of people, so if crores of people are having 15% less sugar, that's a very major cumulative effect.
Yeah.
So
Also things like Chyawanprash and all, which is people think it's for health, but there's so much of sugar also in that.
yes, exactly. So all of these brands, I think their brands are changing, and there's a lot of, one is the brands which are not clean are changing. The second advantage is there's a whole host of hundreds of startups, food startups, which are now coming now starting new companies. They're like, okay, now this particular brand was bad, so now we are going to create healthy alternatives. So many startups have come up now, and in the next 5 years, you will see alternatives for everything.
Okay.
So it's going to become easier to pick healthy food. Right now it's very difficult, but it's going to get easier and easier to pick healthy foods.
So how, when I go to the market,
Yeah.
how should I pick something which is good for me and for my family? For each product, I should turn the product and read at the back. You're talking about almost 30% more time in shopping for food.
Yes, 30% more time, but it's not every time. You will do it once, twice, thrice.
Then you know that.
Then you know it. Also, I just tell you how much time, if I can have some fun, how much time do you take when you buy a dress at a clothing store? You go to any shopping mall and you're buying a dress for yourself. How much time does an average person take when they're buying a dress?
Try it on, take it off.
Try it
Yeah.
on, take it off, try it on, take it off.
15 minutes at least for an expensive thing.
And 15 minutes at least. And
Yeah.
people often also take half an hour, 1 hour to shop for their dresses and things like that. Whatever, even if they're taking 15 minutes. But for a biscuit we buy, we take 2 minutes.
Correct.
ये बिस्किट है पता है कि यही लेना है. So just the way you try it on, take it off, and fix the right fit for you when you're doing a dress, why can't you do the same thing when you're buying a biscuit? Look at it and try to see if it fits with your goals. And so if you have 4 biscuits a day, you have more than 1400 biscuits in a year. Why can't you spend 5-10 minutes extra? If you're buying biscuits for your entire family of 4 people, it's 1400 multiplied by 4, 5600 biscuits. So
You're making it sound so horrible.
yeah, I mean,
it's
again,
true. We never count it in that respect.
Yeah. So once again, you do simple math. You don't need IIT math. You can do simple math, and you'll realize that it's a pretty complex thing. So, what is the problem with spending 30% time extra? Because it's such a major decision. We spend hours on so many other things, and I'm asking you to spend 20 minutes extra. Not every time. If you do it for 1 month, you'll get a knack, and then you won't have to do it the next month.
Yeah, okay. So if I pick up this ketchup, if I have to pick up a ketchup, then I pick up this ketchup. I check 3 brands and see the least harmful of them and pick that up. So next time I go there, I know that that's the one that I want because it's the least harmful.
Yeah.
Right? It's the new products which you pick up, which you need to keep checking the ingredients.
Yeah.
How can companies reduce the what should I say, the tuggoing of the people, the cheating that they are doing? How should they be ethical and moral?
I think I would say I'm not against, like I said, junk food बेचना तो बेचो, but थोड़ा और openly बोल दो. So try to, if as much as possible, don't, at least, even if you're not claiming to be, like, at least don't say it'll make you taller, don't say it'll cure diabetes or COVID or things like that. Like, so just one thing is, don't make any health claims if your product is actually not healthy. 2, as much as possible, if you can be more honest. So one idea which I had is, and maybe the government can, like, enforce this, can every product be enforced to put the number of teaspoons of sugar in the front. So
Instead of saying mg,
mg or g, which
G.
people don't understand ki
एक चम्मच में कितने mg?
हाँ, 1 teaspoon of sugar is 4 grams. So suppose this product has 8 grams. So can they make a picture or out here a spoon with 2 spoons? So you see visually you see 2 spoons of sugar are there in this drink. So that can be, and like, you pick up a soft drink and you see 8 spoons. And you're like, oh, 8 spoons, I don't want to have it.
Also, I've seen in many products they say each serving has 3 grams of sugar, 2 grams of this, 1 gram. Now explain that. Each serving means what?
So it's very strategic. So a particular soft drink is 300 ml. The serving size they'll write is 200 ml. And that they often sometimes do it to make their product look healthier. So they'll write the calorie based on 200 ml. And they'll write the sugar based on 200 ml.
But the bottle is 300
Bottle is 300 ml. So you are now then supposed to multiply that by 1.5 that to figure out the actual calories. And people see that and they think, the people who don't do that math, they just think it's lesser calorie than they have it, the entire thing. But most people would have the full bottle in one go. Same thing many chips brands do. One biggest chips brand in the US used to do the same thing, and they should write the calories for 7 chips. And then there was like
25 chips in that one lamba bottle.
Exactly. So that's the kind of challenge. The serving size, you should be careful of how much you're consuming, because multiply the calorie based on how much you consume, not what they say.
Huh. Okay. Now, tell me when you, the kind of feedback that you get. I've seen that you get love and hate. There are people who are aware and they're grateful to what you're doing. But there's also people who are skeptical कि यार ये तो जिस तरह कह रहा है हम तो कुछ खा ही नहीं सकते. And then they go after you. I've seen that. How do you handle both?
So,
may I ask you how old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay. All right. That's very young for getting this kind of popularity as well as brickbats that you come your way.
Yeah. So I'm born on 29th Feb, so I had only 8 birthdays. Anyway.
Okay.
Side fact. Anyway.
Like Morarji Desai. Okay.
Yeah. Not much more in common. Yeah. So love is always welcome. Hate is also welcome, but I think constructive feedback is welcome. Hate is sometimes not welcome. So, like, I've had lot of love and I'm honestly very grateful for it. There's a parent who emailed me saying that she named her child Revant. Like, based on the bravery and courage, and so there's a lot of love. I cannot say thousands and thousands. In fact, tens of thousands, if not lakhs of parents have messaged me, commented or something that you're doing such a great job. I'm now completely changed what I'm giving to my children because of you. I realized what I was doing wrong and things like that. I actually get in terms of percentage, I get very less hate compared to most other public figures. So I think there are some people who say 2 things. One is कि, as you said, कि तब खाओ क्या, तब हवा खाएं क्या, और हवा में भी तो pollution है.
Yeah.
So I think yes, it's true that there are not enough healthy alternatives, but in the next 5 years, as I said, there will be so many food startups which will come in, which will create these health alternatives, and then you are going to see alternatives. Yes, I know it's slightly annoying to watch this guy on your video screen saying, "Arey ketchup mein itna sugar hai, arey isme itna sugar hai." But in 5 years, I think we will get many more alternatives. The second thing which sometimes people say is fear mongering. Ki this guy is using fear to get views or to gain popularity. And that is, there are so many topics which I do not make. Like, whatever I say is scientifically, what is actually they are themselves claiming. So there is an awareness. Once you create enough awareness, there is a fear. There is the other side of the story.
Or unless you shock people, nobody will do anything about it.
So there is that also thing. So you have to balance views and value. So you have to have value and you have to have views. If you just focus on value, people will not watch it.
Okay.
You can't sound like a documentary.
Let me come back to when you started it. When you were working for these multinationals, did anything happen that you just no, I need to do something different in life?
not one thing. I think it's a cumulative of small, everyday things. You just realize that your values are not as aligned to that kind of a life. I've learned a lot, but there's no one incident per se. There are just like cumulatively, you just see that you're making an Excel sheet, and it's like, I strongly believe the smartest people in the world should be solving the biggest problems in the world. I'm not calling myself smart, but if I actually am smart, I should be fighting against the biggest problems in the world. And that's also true not only for me, but if you are from IIT or IIM or DU, or if you're actually a very smart person, your life's goal should not be कि ये toothpaste का मैं market size 5% से 5.5% कैसे करूँ, which is what most of the people are spending their lives on. कि ये मैं company का profit 10% के बदले 10.5% कैसे कर दूँ.
Wharton और NYU से पढ़ के तो I would think you would have been given those goals before you, right?
And that is what I was doing essentially. कि ये मैं company का cost cutting कैसे कर दूँ इतना $1 million से और ये वो. But I genuinely believe life's biggest problems, what's the biggest problem in our life? Health. Health is strongly determined by food. The food we are eating today is packaged food. And packaged food is blatantly lying to us. So what people don't realize is by solving packaged food, we are solving one of the most important things in life. So this is why I always believe if you truly consider yourself to be intelligent and smart, try to focus on some very complex problem which will create value to people's lives. And unfortunately, or people don't do that. And sometimes when people are smart, they use that smartness towards self-fulfilling goals, like they'll run a marathon or they'll climb mountains and things like that, which are also good. I'm not saying it's not good, but it's like very just self-ego boosting sort of things. So it's very difficult. But I always say you have to do difficult things which are useful. Not just difficult things which will give you an ego boost. So
what is left? What do you want to do in the next, say, suppose I was to ask you, what is your goal for the next year, for the next 2 years? Where do you want to be? You want to be as a food consultant to these new startups that you're saying are going to come? Do you want to do that? How do you want to be?
So I'll tell you what I consider to be the 4 biggest problems in life: health, animal cruelty, extreme poverty, and climate change. I feel these are the 4 biggest problems in life. Now, I will have to play to my strengths. I cannot focus on all 4. So the next 10 years, I want to focus more on health. I think after 10 years, I'm going to focus a lot on animal cruelty. I feel like that is the most if animals gave votes, I feel like we would be living in a different world. So I think animal cruelty is, because they don't have a voice, it's the most neglected form of things. So these are the 2 things which I want to, I think, focus on. I think the next 10 years, I'll be focusing on health literacy, how to get people to become more educated about what they're consuming. I will have to, on a personal level, figure out monetization. Like, how do I also make sure that whatever I'm doing, I'm also living in a sort of a good life and things like that. So that is something which I need to personally figure out in the next 1 or 2 years.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, these are the 4 pillars broadly which I want to align myself to in some way or form.
All right. On that note, thank you, Revant, for spending the time out here and wishing you very best in helping people make sensible choices.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you for watching or listening to this edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. Hope you make sensible choices after listening to this podcast. Namaste. Jai Hind. Click here to watch the previous episodes.